Roman, at the age of 33, crossed paths with Masha, a student who seemed much younger at just 22. Masha was immediately captivated by the attention of an older man. She adored the way he cared for her and the fact that he could provide much more than her peers. It was Masha who first broached the subject of marriage, and Roman succumbed to her pleas. "I guess it's about time to settle down," he thought. For 8 years, they lived together, and the time seemed to fly by effortlessly. They experienced many ups and downs, which only strengthened their bond. However, as time goes by, everything changes, even when we fail to notice. Masha grew tired of the predictable routine of family life and yearned for something more adventurous. She began suggesting that they spice things up in the bedroom with new and unconventional ideas. Initially, Roman was open to her suggestions. He found her spontaneity and creativity appealing. However, as the years went by, Masha's propositions became increasingly daring and unconventional. When she suggested inviting another couple into their bed, Roman was taken aback and sternly rebuffed her, asking her not to bring up such thoughts. Masha apologized, claiming she understood his concerns. Although Roman used to believe that he and Masha had an unbreakable understanding, he couldn't help but notice that his wife seemed to be growing distant at times. Concerned, he approached her, asking if everything was all right. Masha would respond with a slight smile, making excuses about being tired or preoccupied with work-related thoughts. Roman couldn't shake off the feeling that something was wrong. One day, deliberately staying awake in front of the television, Roman decided to wait until Masha fell into slumber to secretly investigate her actions on her phone. He couldn't shake off the uneasiness caused by her sudden change in behavior. After scanning her social media accounts and messaging apps and finding nothing suspicious, Roman's attention was caught by an unfamiliar icon tucked away in the corner of the computer desktop. Curiosity piqued, he clicked on the application and discovered a whole new world of virtual dating. Roman was taken aback by Masha's behavior. He couldn't believe she would resort to cheating. This revelation was completely unexpected. After exploring the app for a while, Roman stumbled upon their conversations with other people, specifically couples who were inviting Masha to engage in threesomes. However, there was no evidence in the messages that these meetings actually took place. It felt like a punch to the gut for Roman. He didn't know how to process this information, so he closed all the apps and set his phone aside. Despite learning such troubling details about his wife, Roman tried to maintain a sense of normalcy in their communication in order to conceal his knowledge. However, his hurt and resentment seeped through, causing tension between them for several days. Secretly, Roman couldn't help but agonize over whether Masha was actually attending these meetings, or if it was all just harmless communication. The situation resolved itself one evening when Masha informed Roman that she would be spending the night at a friend's house and left. It struck Roman as strange because throughout their entire marriage, Masha had never stayed overnight anywhere, always expressing her discomfort with the idea. Intrigued, he inquired about the sudden change of heart. Masha explained that her friend was going through personal issues and she wanted to be there to support her. When Masha returned home the following evening in high spirits, Roman questioned if everything was all right. Though he hoped to hear more about what had transpired at her friend's house, as she used to confide in him about such things, Masha brushed it off and headed to the bathroom, cutting off any opportunity for further conversation. Roma, seized with anger, clutched the plastic milk bottle so tightly that it cracked and the white liquid spilled onto the floor. As he cleaned himself up, thoughts of catching his wife cheating ran through his mind. She had taken her phone into the bathroom with her, leaving him without access to information. However, he patiently waited until Masha was asleep again and opened the ill-fated dating app. His intuition did not deceive him. His wife was indeed communicating with another couple. That same evening, after Maria had returned home, they sent her enthusiastic messages about their time together and invited her to visit them again. Roma gritted his teeth, feeling like steam was about to escape from his ears. In this state, he discovered the address given in the messages and wrote it down for further investigation. It turned out to be a private home on the opposite end of town. Determined to get to the bottom of this, Roman decided that the next time Maria offered to spend the night as a guest, he would go to the house and see for himself. It wasn't long before his wife expressed her desire to be away from home again. Roma agreed, wishing her a good evening. He calculated the approximate time of Masha's arrival at the specified place and set off. When he arrived at the place, he noticed his wife's car parked outside the house. Parking a little further away, he pondered over his further actions. At the moment when the light came on in the windows on the second floor, Roman saw two figures inside. One of them was helping the other undress, and from the shadow of her curly hair, he immediately recognized his beloved wife. The urge to confront them and break into the house overwhelmed him, but he quickly realized that the owners would likely involve the police. Dealing with the authorities was not in his plans. Roman stood at a crossroads before an important question. He sat in the car for a while longer, contemplating the darkened windows and the occasional flicker of shadows. Romo, exhausted and freezing, became increasingly furious and made the decision to try to enter the house. He rang the doorbell incessantly, his finger tired of pressing the button. At last the door creaked open and a man's head appeared. The man demanded in a stern tone that Roman stop and leave, threatening to call the police. Roman yelled back that he just wanted to see his wife and wasn't looking for any trouble. There was a brief pause before the gate automatically swung open in front of him. The owner of the house, who looked much older than Roman, stepped forward. He could not understand how Masha, a young and beautiful woman, had ended up next to a man like him. A hideous image arose in his mind that made him shudder. "I want to see Maria," the visitor said firmly, to which Roma heard his wife's voice. "The car is parked outside your house." Soon Maria herself appeared from behind the door. Roman looked at her, dressed in a silk outfit and stockings, her facial features brightly colored. He couldn't recognize his wife. She seemed a stranger to him. "Pack your things, we're going home," her husband ordered coldly after she nodded, indicating that she had stowed her belongings in a small gym bag she had brought with her. It looked like she had been preparing for such a change of clothes. Upon returning home, the couple began to argue violently, causing neighbors to bang on the radiator in an attempt to quiet them down. Masha yelled that it was her husband who drove her to this act with his harsh reaction to her proposal. "I wanted us to do everything together. I asked you, and you what?" Her words hung in the air. Roman couldn't understand how his refusal could push her into betrayal. He firmly believed that a person in a normal marriage would never break up over such trifles. He himself would never do such a thing. "I'll sue you for everything, the apartment and the car. You'll end up on the street," his wife said bitterly, grabbed her bag, and slammed the door shut with force as she left the apartment. The neighbors knocked again. Roma, feeling completely exhausted, collapsed on the sofa and lay there for quite a long time, staring at one point. In the end, her father, a lawyer, helped with the division after their divorce. Regardless, Roma still had his car and a small portion of the money his former father-in-law had given him for the apartment. The man was furious with his ex-wife. Roma's friend shared with him that Maria began to communicate not only with married couples, and insisted that the topic was never mentioned in conversation. The mere thought of his once favorite woman engaging in such activities disgusted him. He did not wish to hear anything more about her. All he wanted was to forget the whole thing, as if it were just a bad dream.